Hello. Good morning.
Greetings.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, Karen.
How's it going? How are you?
I mean, the con is going fantastic. People have been here for over 12 hours now, presenting amazing content, and people have been great in Discord and great in Twitch. So yeah, it's the best. It's my favorite.
So it's 3:11 in the morning. What are
Hmm.
you and I doing here?
Oh
What is this
goodness.
about?
Well,
How did we end up here?
I think it was your idea. I think it
Oh
was
no.
late Thursday night, and I was saying that there was only one slot left open that I hadn't filled, and you're like, "What if we did it? What if we just talked about the con?" And I thought that was a brilliant idea late at night, and now late at night I still do. So there are no lies detected here.
You're right. It's one of those things. The logic only makes sense late at night. Here we are back again. Makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. I'm drinking some lovely tea that you made. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Oh, I brought you down a special snack
Oh, you
that
did?
I thought we could enjoy together separately.
That sounds
Because
tragic.
I have some for myself too.
It sounds tragic. This
But
is the special snack that Karen brought me. It's in a
yes,
bag, and I was told not to open it until.
I'm concerned that you're tipping part of it, but you'll figure it
Well,
out.
I know. Okay, so this looks like a drinky thing. Ooh, it looks like a late night drinky thing.
No, it's
No?
milk.
Oh, damn it. Okay. Well, no, that's great. I don't probably shouldn't have anything. Oh my goodness, this is
No.
a big. What is in here? What's going on? What the? This Karen loves me so god not only knows me but loves me so damn much. Thank you so much. This is a chocolate old fashioned, my favorite, and half of an apple fritter, which I know is a real gift because Karen loves apple fritters and she could have kept the whole thing for herself. So thank you very much.
All right. Well, we can't really cheers each other, but
Yeah, but we can.
cheers. Um,
Health.
yeah, so we're here to ask, just to chat about Big Bad Con and what it's been like for you as an organizer, because it's definitely changed in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of questions, and they are already coming in from Twitch, which is first and foremost, where is Emmett? So we'll just get this one out of the way. He is in
Good.
my lap. He is sleepy and confused because we went to bed and then we got up, and he doesn't like that.
Oh, the
So
sleepy boy.
this is, oh yeah, our sleepy boy. Yes, there we go.
Thank you.
For
Critical.
Emmett? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the fact that we are here is a good. I had a better way of explaining this that wasn't at 3:15 a.m.
Yeah.
But one of the things that maybe people don't always realize about con organizers and the challenge of it is that when there isn't anybody to fill the thing or to do the thing, it's you. It comes down to you. And sometimes those are like fun problems to solve. And we'll talk about some of those. And sometimes it's other things. But how we kind of ended up here at 3 a.m. was because we didn't have a slot. And we thought, well, I guess Sean will do it.
I mean that happens sometimes, right? There's just times where um, the best laid plans, you can only have so many redundancies,
Mm-hmm.
And everything requires training, and everything requires prep. So if somebody can't make a shift, most things aren't fungible. You know, if a GM doesn't show up, maybe there's another person hanging around who can GM that slot for them. Maybe they are prepped, but oftentimes you're swapping things around. And so oftentimes, and it's certainly not just me. There's a lot of staff members who have jumped in and covered lots of shifts. In fact, right now, Gina Ricker, thank you, Gina, is covering the being a ranger captain in Discord, so I could be here and not having to think about Discord as well, because I had uh, scheduled myself accordingly. And ET was covering earlier for exactly
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, there's a lot of like filling in. That's a lot of what you do as an organizer, is fill in gaps, plug holes.
So how big was the con when you first started? It was like 200, 300 people?
Not even, no.
Not
It
even
was,
that.
I think it was just under 180, right?
Oh, really?
I think
Okay.
like 100 and, I don't know for sure. It's somewhere between 165 and 180 is my memory.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely under 200.
So what were some of the challenges that you noticed like in those first years 1 to 3 of putting on a con?
Yeah. Definitely the biggest one was learning how to speak hotel. It is just a hospitality business is just so unfathomable from the outside. I didn't even know how to like explain what convention was, like what gaming was. They thought it was playing video games. Like I cannot tell you how many times I had to say, no, I don't need computers. I don't need AV.
And they're like, so do you need extra like jacks or plugs or things,
Yeah,
wires?
it was so hard to convince them of that, and just everything was difficult. Figuring out food was difficult. They wanted to do buffet things, and that would cost $40 a head for crappy food, and have to be at a certain time and have limited options. But you couldn't not do it because there wasn't good food options nearby. So we ended up getting food trucks, but then they had union rules about food trucks. It was just like navigating hotels was just so confusing, and their contracts would it's not like they ever went back on me with contracts, but they'd have certain assumptions about our usage of a room, and so like one year they like booked us they billed us for an entire extra night of rooms that we didn't use, and then weren't in contracts. They just sort of thought we were using them, and we had to like fight with corporate for almost a year to get it
Mm-hmm.
to get that sorted out. Just and people in the hospitality business, there's a lot of turnover. I think it's kind of a grind of a business. You've seen this where I'm like, my rep left.
Yeah. And like once a new rep comes in, they don't necessarily care about the contract that other reps had. So they're not necessarily going to kind of pick up that contract and run with it in the same way. You have to kind of start over with that new person and explain to them what gaming is.
Yeah. Elizabeth Cardoza, my very first rep at the very first year. Elizabeth was great. I loved her so much. I hope she's out there doing really well right now. She was replaced.
Hotels, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they'll come back to you and be like, "Hey, I'm at the other hotel now. You want to come back here?"
That was the Walnut Creek Marriott, which is where we went after the Hilton Oakland. It was the two people I worked with were Sean and Carrie. And Carrie, and they after 2019 moved from the Walnut Creek Marriott that had poached me from the Hilton to the Hilton, and they wanted to get me back. It was hilarious. Yeah, it's just always a negotiation every time. Figuring out how to book games. Like I just cobbled together some plugins on a WordPress website and like hoped it would work. And I hired some programmers to make some changes. And I remember the very first day of booking, the very first Big Bad Con, Alan Hodges booked a game, and no one else could book a game in any game in that slot. And he booked up like the whole con, so he blocked every single person off because he got there first. Because the way we changed the programming was once one person booked a slot, the idea was that they couldn't book more games in the same time slot, but instead it was that nobody could book more games in the same time slot. So yeah, that was we had server website issues from day one, and they have persisted.
So as the con grew, like what changed in terms of where the challenges were? Like what were the things that you had to do as you started scaling?
One of the big ones in terms of challenges, I mean, so I think as the con grew, it created both challenges and opportunities, and sometimes those were related. So opportunities were that we learned more about what was needed. We got more feedback from folks. And so we started developing infrastructure that I think made the con kind of what it is today. I think at the beginning, it was like a bunch of cool people that I thought would be rad. And we started building things like our community standards and creating this scholarship and really looking towards making the space actively more welcoming rather than passively so. So those were really wonderful opportunities. But in terms of challenges, one of the big ones was money. The way most cons on the West Coast offer private game rooms for tabletop RPGs, which is like most of what we do, is to subsidize the RPGs with the board game track, the minis track, the Magic the Gathering, and other CCG tracks.
Because those rooms are expensive.
They're expensive.
Private rooms are where the expense is at.
Yeah, it's the most expensive part of the con by a large degree.
And that's the whole con. That's like, at least definitely starting out, you didn't have anything but private rooms.
First year, we had no private rooms. Second year, we had
it was all pipe and drape.
Yeah, we had pipe and drape. Yeah, third year we finally got our first private rooms, but it wasn't all of them. It was just a few, and it was after that I realized. And then the last way people make a lot of money is by having big dealers room, and I always wanted Big Bad to be very play focused, and I always knew that what our strengths was, what my strengths and the people and the other staff and coordinators and rangers and ranger captains and what everyone's strengths were in LARPs and TTRPGs. And eventually we did grow that. We added games to man, we added board games, but our strengths were really in role-playing games. And so I had to figure out a way to like make that sustainable financially. And that became Kickstarter. Kickstarter was the way that we could generate enough to cover the costs of the con, because tickets just wouldn't do it. And it was all like the extras, the Baba Yaga's gift boxes and the Little Red's baskets and the Big Bad Online games. We just realized that we never introduced ourselves. I feel like we know who we are, but like, let's do that.
I don't know who I am, but that's not important.
Yeah. Why? Who are you, mystery interviewer? Yeah.
I'm Sleepies. I'm Karen. Yeah. I mean, we don't care who I am.
Okay.
Who are you?
I'm Sean. I use he/him pronouns. I'm the founder of Big Bad Con, and I'm here at 3 a.m. eating this delicious chocolate old-fashioned donut, talking to.
So we did collect a lot of these questions beforehand, and we are gonna, as things come through the chat, we'll see, which ones we can answer from where. Yeah. But Sean made the excellent idea of asking for questions beforehand, and now we have way too many questions, and I didn't realize that anybody would actually be here. Yeah.
Well, I want very quickly. I want to add some other things.
It's very delightful.
It is wonderful. Thank you all for hanging out with us. This is great. And this is the loveliest part of the con, is late at night hanging out.
Well, it's the only time you get to hang out.
Right. I'm literally looking at Discord every once in a while, being like, yeah, it's probably going well, and I don't have to worry about another stream having any issues because I'm on it. So other things that came up with the Kickstarter also met the scholarship, which was great. That really helped grow the con. I made some notes about this particular one. Becoming a nonprofit, that was a huge hurdle. It's still a hurdle. I still don't understand all the nuances of nonprofits. It's really, it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot to understand.
You still get forms from the IRS being like, you need to fill out this other form.
Yeah, all the time. I'm constantly missing a form. Thankfully, the people at the IRS, when you call them, are actually really sweet. They've never been mean to me. I just get lots and lots of notices. Big Bad World was a big thing for Big Bad.
Yeah,
Big Bad Con.
That was huge.
It was really huge. It started with Nathan and I sitting around being like, what if when you were like cool to somebody, you got XP? And we were thinking specifically about the Jason Morningstar rule of like leaving a chair open and like telling people what's, or at least I heard this from Jason.
How can we trick people into being cool at con?
Yeah, how do we give people and not even trick people into being cool, but like giving
how
people
do we encourage
an alibi for being cool? Like I might be too embarrassed to like introduce myself to you, but 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 if I have a thing that says I get XP when I do it, then I'll do it because I want that XP. And I've now overcome that like social anxiety. Like this other system has tricked my brain into overcoming it, which I needed personally. I literally almost introduced myself to Eloy the Santa 3 times, and I finally did it after I ran past him one time because I had to pee. And then I came back and I apologized for blazing past him and was like, "Hi, I've been meaning to introduce myself for a while." But, he was around a bunch of people and it wouldn't interrupt and it wouldn't be weird. So, yeah.
So, I was trying to think about how Kickstarter worked a little bit, because that wasn't something that you did at the very beginning. When did you start a Kickstarter?
2015 was the first Kickstarter. And
I think it took you some time to decide to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were a fan of the idea of kickstarting your con to start.
I wasn't, because I thought it was like a one and done kind of deal. I thought, well, if I kickstart, then we make enough money, then that's going to set a certain precedent, and people are going to think we're going to be able to do this every year. And I don't think I can run 2 Kickstarters. That's ridiculous. Who would? You can't back a thing and then back it again. That's like highway robbery.
Joke's on you.
Joke's on me, because every year we ran the Kickstarter, it made more and more, and it added more and more to the scholarship. And yeah, it was ridiculous to think we could run a Kickstarter every year. But it's now like the business model that we run on. We have to, even this event, we did a fundraiser. It wasn't Kickstarter because we have no rewards for it, but we wanted to pay all the panelists for being here. And we had to pay a lot of overhead costs that have been accruing over the last 2 years of just public
where's
storage.
the link for that fundraiser? I'm just saying.
We've covered that. We've covered it. If you go to bigbadcon.com, there's a link. But it's and fundraising has just become the model that we've adopted. But I was really reticent. I thought, this is going to be the end of the con. We're going to have one great year and then we won't be able to reproduce it.
And you came up with really, I think, fun and interesting ways of making rewards, but also just like setting up kind of different buckets for the money to go in, of setting up the scholarship fund.
Yeah.
And I think that it's part kind of just pre-sales of tickets, as opposed to trying to like kickstart a project. So it's a little different to kickstart an event.
It is. It's this weird mix of like, you can just buy your ticket, but we have things like you can play an online game with this person and you're buying a seat in that game. And it's a way to like, before the panacea,
before the Panini press?
Before the Panini, when you words are failing me because it's 3 a.m. If you couldn't make it to Big Bad Con, one of the things you could do is back at the level of a Big Bad Online game, distinct from Big Bad Online, the event we have right now. And you could play a game with somebody, so you could buy a spot in that. And the GMs were donating their time to do that as a fundraising efforts for us. So there was lots of like little ways, or you could have a room dedicated in your name, and it was $100 level to have a room dedicated in your name. It cost me $6 to make those posters. It was a direct fundraising option. That wasn't there was no $100 of value, unless of course you treasure the room that much. I think it was really clearly a thank you for giving us money that we need to make this event happen.
I just remembered about the food baskets. I think this was one of your favorite things. My observing of when is Sean having fun was delivering food baskets.
It's probably my favorite thing to do, is bring people food. As I eat food. The Little Reds baskets.
Turned.
The tables have turned. Yes, Karen brought me food. Well, I also like being delivered food. It goes both ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian, our head cook, Brian Vo, and a ton of other folks. Brian usually sort of supplied the core, but a lot of other folks contributed, and we crowdsourced the Little Red's baskets full of goodies that were all home baked and homemade, and we had gluten-free options and lactose-free options and nut-free options and vegan options. And we had folks who were really good at work. Test Aquarium, who's like really, really great at creating food, creating menus with lots of different dietary, restrictions and dietary options. And together we made these baskets. And I think last 2019 we delivered something like 75 or 80 of them. I loved it. We just roll around in these carts and we get to go in the middle of people's games. We find out when people's games are, and just as the game's just like a few minutes in, so you haven't really started playing yet, we would show up and deliver them. And it was just a lot of fun. I mean, I kind of got it from early on when I would just make pots and pots of coffee. Like I just make pots and pots of coffee and just come up to games and be like, anybody want coffee? And it was the funnest thing to just be like, I'm just here delivering coffee if anybody wants it.
Because we didn't have a coffee service, so it was you. It was
someone
had to do it. It was you.
Oh, I wanted to do it. It was
I know you did.
It's great.
Like I said, those are I think the times that I could tell that you were having fun.
Yeah.
Because it's not always fun. But I did want to ask, just because it came up in Twitch, which was, how did the Red Riding Hood theme happen?
Oh goodness. So my I mean, it really comes back to the whole big bad everything. So in 2010, sometime in 2010, I was hanging out with my kids, and who were very young at the time. And I was talking about starting a con, and it was very nascent. Like I had very, very little idea of what it was going to be. And my eldest, Eli, we had shot around a bunch of different ideas, all of them terrible. And my eldest said, "What about Big Bad Con?" Because we were thinking of something con, right? Like DunderCon, Kubla Con, right? All these con, Gen Con, right? And so we thought of Big Bad Con, and I was like, oh, wait, then there's like the Big Bad Wolf, and then there's like the Goat's Gruff, and there's Grandma, and there's the Huntsman, and there's Little Red.
Yeah, the goats were characters for a while.
The goats were characters, year 3.
Anyone remember the goats? They were there.
There was Big, Bad, and Con. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
There was the Goat's Gruff. Yeah. And it just felt like it was such a rich pantheon to pull from, a rich folklore to pull from. And I have to say, I'm a little embarrassed because I took the persona of the wolf and had this kind of edgy, like the wolf's here to bring you the best games, right? Like this tough guy macho wolf thing, which I now look at and cringe at and go, oh God, why?
The wolf's here for all your indie gaming needs.
Yeah, it was bad.
Watch out, Grandma, I've got dice.
Yeah. I'm real glad that the current incarnations of the Wolf and Little Red are real playful, happy gamers that are excited to have you there, and there's no tough guy anything to it. But yeah, I do recall. Although the very first year we had my friend Alec Ransell in a wolf costume, and he was going around. He was going around in a wolf mascot suit. Yeah, where do you rent a wolf mascot suit? There's another fun question. I couldn't tell you that anymore, but in 2011 I knew. And it was super fun having him walk around. And one of those first year only events.
A follow-up question to the food baskets is: did Sean deliver Valentine's as a middle schooler? Has this always been your vibe? Is just dropping off
food,
food and good vibes.
Let me. I think
I mean, this shouldn't be like too hard. It's just a memory question.
Yeah, well, middle school was a long time ago, folks. I think my closest memory to this was that I was one of my few friends that started working very early on. I started working when I was
12.
just under 12. But basically, because I was working in a family-owned business, they could pull off this sort of shady workers permit thing. But I remember at 14, I had my first job that had tips, and my deal was the money I made, my salary, my paycheck, all went into savings to go into the college fund. That was the plan. Everything I was saving was going for college, but my tips were mine. And I remember vividly, like, being able to go to the grocery store and like buy a bunch of food for my friends felt like the coolest fucking thing ever. And I loved it. I loved whenever I could just be like, yeah, we're going to all go get sodas and chips and sweet tarts. And like, it just felt good to be able to oh yeah. Yeah. At Mendoza's, the tiny little grocery store in Mendocino.
I think I've been there.
Yeah, you have. It's still there.
So what are some of the other adventures that you've had? Let's focus on like, what are the fun problems that you as an organizer find yourself doing?
Yeah, I often find myself at 3 a.m. or at sometime late in the morning going on weird adventures. So there was the time when we were having a dance party and we needed a PlayStation for Rock Band and we realized we didn't have it. And so I was asking everyone, hey, do you live nearby and have a PlayStation and have Rock Band that we could borrow? It's a weird question to be asking just random people. But
it's a very specific drill down.
Yeah. I mean, if you qualify. Yeah. And Kate Himes also was asking around. And she found somebody. Thank you, Nick Punt. You saved the night. And Nick was like, yeah, sure. Here's the keys to my apartment. You can go and get it. And so we drove at 11 o'clock at night because the party was at midnight. We drove at 11 o'clock at night to San Francisco. And we went into this apartment and there was this dude with this girl that he was hitting on. And she was like, I don't know. I don't think she was impressed. And this was his roommate that he didn't know was going to be there. And his roommate was trying to be like, oh, like, I'm the cool guy. Like, yeah, you can come into my house in the middle of the night. That's cool because I'm like the cool guy. And he was trying to use like leverage that as like a way to look impressive. I don't think it worked.
And the two of you are like, pardon us, we need to get PlayStation to go back to our fun thing. Bye.
And we're just literally like tearing through this house, trying to be very delicate. But it kept being like, is this it? No, that's the PlayStation 1. You need the PlayStation 2. Okay. Or 3 or whatever it was. Like, is this it? No, those are old controllers. Like, we just kept finding the wrong thing. We went into the garage. We finally found it and we brought it all back. And it was just this like, we're just giddy how silly it was as we're driving back across the bridge and we like succeeded and we had it. And then we finally got there and we didn't have any batteries. It was like, and it was like, okay, we got this. I ran across the street to the gas station and paid way too much for batteries and it all worked and it was amazing. Yeah, I have lots of memories like that. Thank you, Plucky Kate, for going on adventures with me. Yeah, that's I don't know. It's like you said, those are the fun problems. Those are the ones where you're like, I guess we got to do this. Yeah. At 3 a.m. one time, Jackson and I went back to the apartment to get woodworking supplies because the table was broken, and I was convinced the hotel was going to charge us, a ridiculous amount for breaking this table. So we came back, and at 3 a.m, everybody was like in the suite having a party. Jackson and I were like, here's some clamps, here's some wood glue, here's some stain, here's a drill. And we put this table that had been broken back together.
They'll never know.
Good. How would they know?
No one will know.
And it was good times. It was often in those times, I'm really, really glad to have a buddy, someone to just go with me on this wild adventure. I had to do a couple of them on my own and it was just not the same. Although I did meet some weird people at a FedEx station once. If you go to FedEx
Right.
stations,
I remember
like,
the FedEx.
yeah, it was this disaster where all the shirts were stuck at a FedEx station and they weren't going to arrive until after the con. And like, it was like $2,000 of hoodies and t-shirts. And we had to get them to people at the con. Otherwise we were going to be spending a fortune to ship them. And I was on the phone with FedEx, like begging them, like, please, please, please. And like, no, you don't understand. It's not at a pickup location. Like, you can't go to the counter. And it was like, just anybody. And I kept talking to people. And finally I got someone who was like, I mean, I was just putting my heart out. I was like, please, anything. Finally I got someone who was like, okay, you're going to go to the back of this lot. You're going to go behind all these trucks. You're going to go to this unmarked door. You're going to press this buzzer for a long time. Like, you're going to hold this buzzer down for like 30 seconds or a minute. And then you're going to
turn around thrice times Widdershins.
And then you're going to wait. And you're going to wait a long time because someone all the way at the other end of this giant warehouse is going to have to walk down. This is the only door you can get to. And it's going to be like a 5-minute wait. Sure enough, it was. And this woman looks at me and she's just like, you're here for the box. You're here for the package. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here for the package. And she didn't know how it got wrangled, how her boss called. I don't think this is a thing FedEx does, but it was an adventure. But yeah, it was one I had to do solo. And thank you, Fairfield FedEx team. That's all I can say.
So Jackson also had a very nice question that I liked, which is, what's a specific tactile thing you remember about the process of setting up big bad cons?
Yeah. I have to admit doing some illegal things right now.
No, they were not. No, it wasn't illegal.
Okay.
Whatever it wasn't. If you thought it was, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
No.
I didn't know how to get traffic cones. Now I realize I should just have bought traffic cones on like any website, right? But it didn't click to me like how I like the way you get traffic cones is you find them on the street. Like that's the way you do it.
Yeah, you just pick up some like ones in the wild.
Yeah. They just
some feral traffic cones.
Exactly. They're just feral creatures. And so right before the con, I would go and grab traffic cones because we needed them to block off spaces for the food trucks. Otherwise, people would park in the spaces. And to be fair, we always returned them where we got them. So I don't think hopefully we did not do too much harm. But there's a thing about traffic cones that you don't realize. They're freaking big. They're big, they're heavy, and they're greasy, and they're gross. And at least the ones you find in the wild, that is. And I remember like doing this like run out. Okay, because I know I shouldn't have been doing it. And we like pull up.
There were plenty.
Grab traffic cones. Yes, that's true. I'd never grab ones that were like actively in use. I'd grab ones that were like stacked up somewhere or where they were really dense. And I thought I could just thin the herd a little. It would be okay. Wouldn't hurt too much if I took a traffic cone. But yeah, they were just heavy and gross. And I remember hauling them and hauling around and just hauling in general. Lots of loading things in vans and or in my van. Oh, my van.
Poor minivan didn't make it.
No, minivan didn't survive the pandemic.
That minivan, we had lots of fun times loading that thing, and then loading it again, and then another trip.
So many loading,
and then another trip, and then there was like another.
Speaking of Jackson being on trips, Jackson often sat. It was often me because we took out all the back seats to load the stuff. And it was me in the front seat, Avery Alder in the passenger seat, and Jackson sitting in the back, like on top of stuff. We're like, this is also not probably good, but thankfully
that sounds illegal. It probably never happened. I don't think that happened.
We're all safe.
No, it never happened. What's something that you would bring back from past years, and maybe on the flip side, what is something that you would like to never have to deal with again? And hopefully you don't admit to doing more illegal things.
I will try to not admit to doing more things.
This is things you don't know about being a con organizer. Sometimes you
have to improvise. Sometimes you have to make do with not very much.
Sometimes you improvise illegally.
So things that I things that I really thought. I was thinking about this, and I was thinking back, and I remember Noam Rosen, Sean Hayworth, and Kristen Sullivan as the Imperial Academy dropouts. They were a nerd rock band for the very first year of Big Bad, and they performed a concert, and I scheduled it so all the games ended before it started, so everyone could attend this concert. And they were missing a drummer, and so they put out an ad for a drummer, and they said it was for RPG music, and the guy thought RPG stood for rocket propelled grenades. And
Nice.
so he was like, "Cool, we've got a band that's about a very shitty metal band." He turned out to be super cool, but they played all sorts of Jonathan Colton songs, and they did some Wolf based songs, and we had our mascot running around, and it was a blast. We had a dance party. We had several dance parties, but this is the only time we had a band. And that was really sweet too.
I remember in the beginning, you always wanted there to be an opportunity for something that everybody could attend.
Yeah.
And there was always kind of like a big special event each year. It was trying to be something special.
Yeah. We had a parsley game that I scheduled a certain late night, and then I asked a lot of people if they would attend, and then I asked Kristen Sullivan to challenge me to wear a suit on that day, and then I also had some champagne smuggled in, and then I also rigged the parsley game so it included a new object, which was a box that had a certain engagement ring that I then asked the parser if he would be in a little gag with me as
a fun little lark.
A fun little lark as I proposed to my now beautiful, amazing wife, who is currently interviewing me.
I wish I could be like, oh, this ring, but I don't have it on. I'm not wearing my jewelry.
I'm not either. It's what is time? Where are things? Yes. We always tried to have an event, and it was really, actually, that's something that got a little easier when we added the Thursday night component, because it used to be Friday through Sunday, and it was just like,
you added a social night.
Yeah, it was just Friday. It was just games, and I never really felt like I could pull back from that. I never felt like I could say no games on Friday, especially because it was like Friday during the day, and I wanted a nighttime event, and so I didn't want to say like, it was very hard to say like games, stop. Games. You know, it's not, and it didn't feel right. And so when we added a Thursday night social night, it was so great because we could have an opening ceremonies, and we could have really big events, and we had fencing lessons and knitting circles and soda pop social and just other really cool social events that you didn't need signups for. It was just drop in and get to know people. Tell me about your character booth excitement and all that stuff. Yeah, what would you never deal with? I have to say it. I'm sorry. The worst part of Big Bad in the early years was that I couldn't afford programs. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. Color printing is really expensive. I said,
there was a time where you had a few enough games that you had printed all of them out. Yeah. The program had the entire game schedule.
Yeah, and when we finally got the budget that I could just buy printed programs, it not only was it huge anxiety reducing, but it was also just so much less staying up in the middle of the night for hours and hours watching printers print.
Also, it took away part of our night before the con party where we would say, yes, if people want to come and, stay at our place, you absolutely can, except you have to fold programs and staple programs and cut programs and cut badges and sort badges and put badges into things and do a badge labeling party and then take apart board games and pop out all the chits of them and put them all back in, which is both really fun and not fun at all. But it was it's a fun
It was a
chore.
fun night.
It was
It was
so much
my
fun.
my personal most favorite fun part of those was the time when we were trying to figure out how to sort the badges, and there were like three different people with three different ideas about how to sort the
Hmm.
badges, and I was
Yeah.
like, cool, I'm gonna go crack open board games because I was like, when three people have three different ideas of how to sort things, there's no right answer to that question. And I was like, I know you're all capable individuals. You're going to figure this out. I'm just going to be over here doing something else because this
Hmm.
looks like torture. And they did it, and they sorted all the badges. It was great,
Yeah.
and I didn't have to, and I loved them for that.
We still have like fancy paper folders because we
Mm-hmm.
and extra long staplers from putting together programs. And then invariably you would print them. I remember you would get so mad when something would change in the schedule because you're like, but it's printed.
Oh,
It can't change now. It's printed. Nothing can change.
for a long time, there was this cutover period, like a week before the con, where I was like, "We're done. Nothing can change
Hmm.
now." Because I'm printing it, it's going analog. And so also part of the reason why I was like stressing out about the printing is I always had to do it so last minute because
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut off signups until like the very last minute. And I
Yeah.
would print people's badges with all the games that they were in. And so I wanted those things to all be finished. And yeah, it was just really stressful setup. But it did lead to those pre-party badge folding, badge stuffing parties,
Those are good
pre-con badge
times.
stuffing parties, which were very good times. Yeah.
So what do you think is something most people don't realize about what's involved in running a con?
I don't know. I'm going to throw this back to you, Karen. I feel like you have observations about
Oh
like
no, I didn't
what I
prepare for
do.
this.
Um, it's a lot of emails.
Hmm.
It's a lot of emails. It's a lot of writing documentation. I've probably written 50 or 60 pages of documentation just for Big Bad Online by just itself. It's a lot of organizing training and like doing this weird thing where you're kind of laying down the track as the train's going because you're sort of trying to get all of the staff and the coordinators like on board with like you want everybody's contributions, but you need to create enough of a superstructure that they can make meaningful contributions. Because if you just say like,
Hmm.
"Hey, what does everybody think?" you get a lot of people sort of staring at you like, "I don't know," and or
Hmm.
they're kind of going off in different directions. So you need to build enough of a of a space, enough of a structure that of a scaffolding that people can build off of, and that infrastructure it's really hard to think through until you've done it. Once you've done it, you can refine it, and it's much easier to do it the second time. But there's a lot of organizational design that just you I feel like the first time you just kind of have to muddle through it because you don't know
Hmm.
what it should look like until you've done it and then go, oh, that worked, that didn't work, we missed this, we didn't need that, um, and design what the con's going to look like. I don't know if that was a good answer to that. Also, having somebody who speaks legal is really great. Having somebody who can talk.
Yeah, you need an Eric.
I need an Eric. Yeah, I had an Eric Ullman. I had an Eric Fadig. I had an Eric Mersman. People who would talk to like corporate hotel folks and sort out things and fight for you. In fact, that's probably my biggest piece of advice. It behooves you if you're organizing an event and you have to talk with somebody who is going to be naturally antagonistic to you or naturally trying to get money out of you to put a little bit of distance between yourself and that person. Having somebody else be the hotel liaison meant that when the hotel would give them a bad deal, they could say, I don't know if Sean's going to accept that, or I don't know if the board's going to accept that. And then we had a little bit of time to like confab, and then we could go back with a counter offer. Versus if you're the decision maker and you're the one who can like say yes or no, it's much harder to be like, or at least it's much harder for me to haggle hard in the moment. You kind of like need that time to think about it and realize, could we do this? Can we not do this? Well, how does that compare with other folks? So having someone to be a liaison is incredible, huge.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
Well, we've only got 4 minutes left.
No.
Do you
Did
have
we get
any
to all
other
the
parting?
questions?
No, no. Do you have any parting thoughts? Do you want to come cuddle this dog?
I do want to come cuddle this dog, but I'm going to wait until, oh my
I mean,
goodness,
you've got
look at that cute boy.
How long does it take to get upstairs?
It's wet out there. Okay, you got a vamp. I'll be right up.
I got a vamp. Okay, so here's the thing that Sean doesn't know about the donuts is I had to go to 2 different donut places because we didn't have the type that he likes, and he's very particular, and he has metaphors about what it's like to get a donut that's not the donut that you want. So I know how important this is to get the donuts right, and I didn't have the right one, so I had to go to the second one. And that's just the things that you have to do for a con organizer is make sure that they have the right donuts. That's what they don't tell you. Ooh, do we hear something?
Hi, puppers. Hi, puppy. Hello, all. This is me from the other camera.
My mic is here.
Where's your mic? Oh, it's right there. Oh,
hello. Hi.
Hello.
Is it working?
I think it's, well, we can't tell.
I don't know.
We wouldn't know.
We wouldn't know.
Anyway, this is the most adorable puppy ever. And I just want to say in these last, it's working.
It's working.
Thank you, Willem. I just want to say in these last 3 minutes, thank you everyone who is here. Thank you all the rangers, all the ranger captains, all the staff, all the people who contributed to the fundraiser, everyone who's made this possible. You're all wonderful, and Big Bad would absolutely not exist without you. And thank you, Karen 12s, for always being here and supporting me for this entire time.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff. It's been real nice putting on Big Bad the last 10 years. And
looking forward to next year.
Looking forward to next year. Hopefully, knock on wood, we can see each other in person. But if not, we know this model works now.
Yeah.
So
it's been pretty good.
Yeah. So thank you everyone who submitted questions. I'm sorry we probably got to like half of them, if that. There was a lot.
You were going to go to the Discord and answer them all now, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go nap.
Yeah. No. Oh, you know what? There was one more I want to add, which was
wow. Which one?
Something that I really enjoyed getting to see at Big Bad.
Oh.
And there's a few events that were really magical, but 2 that I just want to highlight real quick before we have 1 minute to go.
Less than a minute. John,
okay. I got to do it fast. Watching Big Bad GM, the contest of people making up Iron Chef style GM elements. And our beloved Morgan Ellis was the first winner of that event. And I don't know, it just makes me think of him. It was wonderful. And the Teenagers from Outer Space LARP that Greg Worth and Sarah Hockland always put on every year. It was super ridiculous and super silly. And I got to make cameos in, and that was great. So.
All right. I think we're finishing on time, which was important for you.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.